the next 3 questions we're going to ask, so questions from the audience, so we take no responsibility for them, however we think that they're excellent. The question following the same scheme that we were before, 2-minute response. 2-minute response, 1-minute rebuttal, 30-second rebuttal. Following the same pattern as well, Ryan will have the first crack at the first question, and from there we'll continue on to the 4. So, without further ado, and we'll be mindful of time, so we'll try to end as closely as possible. If we go past, if you have prior obligations, run out streaming. If not, stay here. So, all right, considering, Ryan, the possible budget cuts that GAPSA might face next year, what are some programs that should be continued, and what programs should be out? What are some new affordable programs that you could propose?
Well, I guess I don't know if I would accept the premise of the question. I don't think that we necessarily have to cut programs if we have budget cuts. There are alternative ways that we can seek funding, especially in programming. I mean, just look at all the opportunities that we have through SUA, through other organizations, through outside funders, to fund some of the things that we're doing, especially when we're working in collaboration with international student organizations, when we're working in collaboration with the councils. There are other pots of money there that we have access to. And I think that, you know, I don't think we should go into this thinking, what are we going to cut, you know, what has to go, but rather, how can we find other resources to continue what we're doing and to expand what we have.
Excellent, thank you. Devin? Devin, the question is to you, and I'll read it again. Considering the possible budget cuts that GAPSA might face next year, what are some programs that should be continued, and what programs should be cut? What are some new affordable programs that you could propose?
I think we need, well, Ryan's right, we should always be looking into the possibility of additional funds. I think we need to face the reality that there's a significant chance that GAPSA is going to be facing a budget crisis next year. I'm still hopeful that something will happen, the process will play out, that graduate and professional students won't be set back completely by the misstep in January, but I think it's important that we accept that that may happen. I think the key program that we really need to focus on and make sure that it stays strong and actually, frankly, continue to build upon it are the grants processes that the that GAPSA goes through. It's a tremendous opportunity. I haven't always been thrilled with the process, but I think it is a fantastic opportunity that students, both academic and professional grants, they should avail themselves of. I think it's really important that we make sure that no matter what happens, that be something we keep an eye on. Also, pass-through funds. I mean, we really need to preserve the funding that GAPSA passes through onto councils. That is something that needs to be preserved at all costs. In terms of cutting, which I think is a reality, a possible reality, I think we really need to look at some of the social programming that GAPSA puts on. I've had a lot of fun at GAPSA social programming. I'd like it to continue, but at the same time, I think that the councils have resources within their colleges that might be able to kind of replace some of that funding. So that would be something I would take a look at. In terms of affordable programming for the future, I think that we need to be trying to collaborate with the councils and bring them together for events that serve all of them. I think GAPSA does that as a whole really well, but maybe we want to focus on some of the AHC groups and some of the programming that might be great for a nursing, a med school, a pharmacy. Get them together where they can work together.
Fine, thank you. Ryan, go. Okay. The next question, we'll go to Devin first. Last year's abrupt announcement of the graduate school closing shocked and angered many grad and professional students on campus. How did you address that situation, and what will you do to ensure that something similar will not happen again?
Absolutely. I was an admitted student to the Humphrey 2 years ago. I chose to continue working, and so I deferred for a year. But I was watching that with great interest. My email was still coming through, and I remember getting the email, what the hell's going on? Obviously, I wasn't on campus for that, but as Vice President for University Relations, I've been living that every day, trying to either repair relationships that were strained because of the frankly. I think we have I'm really impressed with the working relationships COGS has formed with the provost and others. I'm excited about our new dean. I think that there's a lot of opportunity there. I think Henning has a great vision for what the graduate school can be. And so, again, leveraging these relationships to make sure that we're involved in these discussions is important. I don't think we need to, necessarily pass legislation to have that happen, which is something that's kind of been going on over the last year. I think, COGS didn't need to pass legislation to be meeting with the provost every 2 weeks. We did it. And I think that just being present, being there, leveraging the committees as someone who serves on the Senate Finance and Planning Committee here, and every 2 weeks is working with the university, talking about our new fiscal reality. It's just being present, being there. I'm going to encourage every president on the councils to do that. I'm going to encourage every member of the assembly to do that, and every member of my administration to do that.
Thank you. Ryan, rebuttal.
I guess the only thing that I would say, I guess, to rebut that, Devin, you brought up the Senate Committee on Finance and Planning, I believe last week in GAPSA, and you kind of, told everyone, check the minutes, see all the work that I'm doing. Well, I did, and you've only shown up to 60% of the meetings. You've missed a significant. And you talked about how important that committee is, how important that position is. Yet students aren't being represented that 40% of the time. And I guess personally, I think we need someone that's going to show up 100% of the time. And when I sat on Senate committees, not once did I miss a committee meeting. I was the Senate chair. Not once did I miss a full Senate meeting. And so, I think that while that position might be good for you to be in, but it's more important for students that someone's showing up and representing them.
30-second rebuttal.
I don't know the numbers, Ryan, although I think that's twice you've misrepresented me. I've spoken with every president of every council, so I'm not sure which councils are telling you that I'm not doing that. I don't have the numbers. I can't say what I've missed. I have missed some meetings because I'm a student first, and occasionally either a class or a project will cause me to miss those meetings. And while I do try to represent students as best I can, I'm not willing to allow my academic life to suffer for that, and I make no apologies for that.
Okay. Ryan, the question is to you. Last year's abrupt announcement of the graduate school closing shocked and angered many graduate and professional students on campus. How did you address that situation, and what will you do to ensure that something similar will not happen again?
Yeah. So I was on campus last year. I was on campus when this happened, and I was in a position of leadership. I chaired the student senate. Under my leadership, Senate passed through a resolution condemning the decision to close the graduate school. That went on to the University Senate. Students spoke up, and we got that passed, and we got the task force established. The former COGS president, Jeff Hart, personally thanked me and Christy as well, for all the work that we did to make sure that happened. And so, that's what I did to address the situation. Now, and it was addressed, and there was a task force formed, and Christy sat on it. And what I've been doing to ensure that it doesn't happen again is I've been working on shared governance policy, proposed Board of Regents revisions that would guarantee that students have a seat at the table and guarantee that we have the right to be making these decisions or be as parts of the process. Now, it's great that we do have some relationships with some administrators where we do have the ability to meet with them on a regular basis, but there's nothing that says we have the right to do that. If they wanted to turn around tomorrow and say, no, we're not going to meet with any students on these issues, there's nothing stopping. There's nothing saying that the budget decisions have to happen in a forum where students are present, or that the capital planning decisions, or that closing the graduate school has to happen with students present. And this shared governance policy, I've been working on this for 3 years, and we're finally seeing it materialize. We have proposed Board of Regents language that is online. People can go and make comments on it. This would guarantee us a seat at the table so that we don't see anything like this ever happen.
Okay. Devin.